I felt my breath stop the moment I opened the bedroom door and saw Raven lying across my bed like it belonged to her hand resting on her pregnant belly, her smile lazy and satisfied. I stood there frozen because behind her was the crib they had assembled in my room, and within seconds, I realized everything in my life had been rearranged without me. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button. I wish I could tell you I reacted with anger right away. I wish I could tell you that at 71 years old, after everything I had survived in my life, I had enough backbone left in that moment to shout, to demand answers, to refuse this insult. But I did not. I just stood there, feeling the shock slide through my chest like cold water, leaving my hands trembling at my sides. It was as if the floor had opened beneath my feet and I was falling, not fast, but slowly enough to feel each piece of myself peel away as I tried to understand how I had become a stranger in my own home. Raven stretched like a cat, not even pretending to be uncomfortable. "This room is better for the baby," she said, her tone smooth and casual, as if she was giving me a weather report. She did not bother getting up. She did not seem to see me as someone who deserved that courtesy. And I knew in that one moment that whatever line she had been inching towards since the first day she moved in, she had crossed it fully. I looked around, desperate for some sign that this was a misunderstanding. But every dresser drawer was empty. My clothes, my perfume bottles, my family photos, gone. The bedspread I had picked out last year was tossed aside like trash, replaced with pastel blankets and oversized stuffed animals. And for a second, I wondered if I was dreaming. I even reached out and touched the doorframe because I needed to feel something real. Then I saw the doorway to the hallway, and there he was, my son. My only child. Kyron stood with his shoulders stiff, avoiding my eyes. I used to say he had gentle eyes, brown and thoughtful, the kind that softened when he looked at me. But not that day. That day, he looked at me like a man who had already chosen a side. And it was not mine. "Kyron?" I whispered, not trusting my voice enough to speak louder. He swallowed. "Mom, listen." Before he could finish, Raven shifted again, placing a hand dramatically on her stomach. "Baby, do not stress me," she said, sounding suddenly fragile. "This is supposed to be a safe place for us." Us. As if I were a threat. As if I were the outsider. As if this was not the home I bought, the home I maintained, the home I opened to them when they claimed they had nowhere else to go. I stepped into the room slowly, as if I was approaching a wild animal. "Where are my things?" Raven pointed lazily toward the hallway. "Kyron moved them to your new room." I did not move right away. Something inside me resisted, like my bones were refusing to take me anywhere until my heart understood what was happening. But I forced myself to walk down the hallway, feeling the carpet under my feet like someone walking into a crime scene. Then the smell hit me first. Dust, oil, and cold cement. The garage. There were my clothes, piled carelessly in plastic bins, my shoes stacked in crates, my blankets folded on top of a thin cot they had placed next to the washing machine. No window, no insulation, no air, just a bare bulb hanging overhead, flickering slightly as if even the electricity was unsettled by what they had done. My own home, and they had put me in the garage. For a few seconds, all I could hear was my own pulse pounding in my ears. I do not know how long I stood there. It felt like time stopped, like something old and tired inside me finally snapped a little. When I returned to the hallway, Raven was standing behind Kyron, her hands resting on his shoulders. She looked at me with a calm expression, the kind of calm that comes from believing you have already won. "This is temporary," she said, "until the baby is older." My voice came out cracked. "There are 2 empty bedrooms in this house," she shrugged. "Those are too small for a nursery. And honestly, the garage is fine for sleeping. Lots of people do that." Kyron took a step forward. "Mom, we talked about this." "No," I said, shaking my head slowly. "You talked to yourselves. You did not talk to me." Raven sighed loudly like I was being dramatic. "Danetta, this is what families do. They adjust." Her words were light, but they sliced me open because in her mouth, family meant whatever served her. I could see her manipulation wrapping around my son like vines. I could see how deeply she controlled him. And I could see that Kyron, my own baby boy, now a grown man, was standing there letting her erase me. I took a step closer and looked him dead in the eyes. You let her move me into the garage. His jaw tightened. It is just until the baby comes. The baby is already almost here, I said. And you two made these decisions without me, in my house. Raven spoke before he could answer. You are making this harder than it needs to be. Do you really want to make me stressed this late in pregnancy? And there it was, the trick. Every time she wanted something, she used that baby like a shield. She weaponized her own motherhood before the child was even born. Kyron flinched at the idea of stress, as if it physically hurt him. Mom, please, just work with us. The shame washed over me so strong, I had to grip the banister to stay steady. How could he not see what she was doing? How could he not see that she was turning him into the person who pushed his own mother out of her bedroom and into a garage? Kiren, I whispered, I carried you for 9 months. I raised you alone. I worked double shifts to feed you. And you put me in a garage because she asked you to? He winced, but Raven squeezed his arm, and just like that, he hardened again. You are blowing this out of proportion, she said, stepping forward with a smile so icy it chilled the hallway. We need the space more than you do. You are hardly in your room anyway. I stared at her, wondering how a person so young could already be so cruel. She was 24, but her entitlement was large enough to fill the whole house. Then she tilted her head and added, Besides, you should be grateful the baby will have a good start. You keep saying you are excited to be a grandmother. A grandmother? Yes, I had been excited. I had dreamed about rocking that child to sleep, teaching them to walk, holding small fingers in mine. But somehow, in Raven's world, becoming a grandmother meant surrendering my dignity. It meant becoming an afterthought, a burden. When I did not respond, Raven leaned comfortably against Kyron. If you want, we can help you organize the garage later. The garage. Something inside me went silent. I did not cry. I did not shout. I just turned off. Like a light clicked out inside me. I am not sleeping in that garage, I said. Raven crossed her arms. Then you are throwing your grandchild out on the street. The way she said it, you would think I had walked into the house with eviction papers in my hand. The manipulation was so thick I could almost taste it, bitter and poisonous. Kyron's face crumpled. Mom, do not do this. Do not do this. As if I were the one causing the problem. I took a breath, steadying myself. I'm not throwing anyone out. I'm telling you both that what you did today was wrong. Raven shook her head. You know what? Fine. If she does not want to support her grandchild, we will leave. I looked at Kyron, praying he would see the trap. Son, do not let her twist this. But he was already drowning. Mom, maybe we should go. Maybe it is better if we go. The words hit me like a hammer. I felt them deep, cracking something old, something maternal, something that had always anchored me to him. Are you choosing to leave rather than respect me in my own home? I asked quietly. He looked at Raven, not at me, and that was the answer. It is best, he whispered. Just like that, my son walked out of my house. My home. Our home. He packed a few bags, helped Raven into the car, and drove away to a studio apartment that he could barely afford because the woman who claimed she loved him refused help from her wealthy parents out of spite. And I stood in the doorway watching the car disappear, my heart collapsing and expanding at the same time. The grief was sharp, but under it, slowly rising, was something else. Something I did not expect. Relief. For the first time in months, the air in my home felt breathable again. The walls felt steadier. My own heartbeat sounded different, like something inside me had finally been released. But that relief did not mean I had healed. Not yet. That night, when I finally sat alone at my kitchen table, staring at the empty chairs where my son and that girl once sat, I felt the betrayal sink deeper. It was like a cold weight pressing against my ribs, reminding me that love, real love, does not throw you out into a garage. Real love does not pack your things. Real love does not stand in a hallway and let a stranger take your bedroom. As the house settled into silence around me, I let myself feel the full ache of it. I had been used, disrespected, replaced. And the wounds went deeper than just the loss of a bedroom. They reached into every sacrifice I ever made, every long night I spent worrying over Kyron, every dream I ever had for our relationship. But even through the hurt, I remembered something important. I survived harder things long before this, and I was going to survive this too. The worst part at that moment was not losing my bedroom. It was losing the son I thought I knew. But life had more truths waiting for him. And for me. And those truths were about to crack everything open. I woke the next morning to a strange kind of quiet, the kind that sits in your house after a storm tears through it and leaves everything standing but nothing feeling the same. I sat at my kitchen table with a mug of coffee between my hands, letting the steam rise into my face as if warmth alone could steady me. There was no car in the driveway anymore. No footsteps overhead, no Raven humming loudly on purpose, so I could hear how happy she was in the room that used to be mine. No Kyron stumbling through the hallway half awake, asking if I wanted anything from the store. Just silence. And that silence felt both comforting and heartbreaking at the same time, like a bandage being peeled back to reveal a wound that had not even begun to heal. I kept replaying his face in that hallway, how it seemed to fold in on itself when Raven squeezed his arm, as if her touch flipped a switch inside him. I wondered when I stopped being his anchor, when she became the voice he listened to instead of mine, when love became something he used as a bargaining chip instead of a bond that was supposed to hold us together through every foolish choice, every heartbreak, every misstep. But I also remembered the look he gave me before they left, the look of a man not fully convinced of his own actions. It was the look of someone being pulled in two directions, but too afraid to choose the one that required courage. I held on to that look because it was the only piece of him that felt like my son. Later that morning, I walked into the garage. I told myself it was to look for something, but really, I think I needed to see it again, just to make sense of it. My belongings were stacked like I had moved out and forgotten to take the rest with me. My clothes smelled like dust, even though I had washed them 2 days earlier. The cot sat crooked in the corner, still untouched. I stared at it and tried to imagine what they imagined. That I would come home, see my things shoved into a cold, windowless box, and quietly accept that the space where I slept, where I prayed, where I cried, where I rested, I should just surrender it because a girl who barely knew me decided she wanted it. I never would have let them sleep in a garage. Not if they were 12. Not if they were 24. Not if they had wronged me. Because you do not put your family in a place meant for tools and storage boxes. You do not demote the people who raised you to corners. You do not conquer a home that does not belong to you and force the owner into a cage. I closed the garage door and locked it, not out of spite, but because I needed the boundary. I needed to tell myself, even if only symbolically, that nobody else would invade that space again. Nobody would drag my dignity across the cement floor and leave it there like scraps. That afternoon, my neighbor Clarice stopped by. She was my age, maybe a year older, the kind of woman who held her purse tight against her ribs as if the contents were national secrets. When I opened the door, she practically fell inside. "Danetta," she said, her voice full of the kind of urgency that makes your stomach clench before you even know why. "I saw them leave last night. Is everything all right?" I wanted to tell her yes, because that is what women my age always say first. We swallow our pain so fast we forget we swallowed it. But something inside me cracked, just a little. Maybe it was the way her eyes softened when she looked at me. Maybe it was the fact that she had known Kyron since he was small enough to fit in one arm. Maybe it was that I finally needed someone to see what I had been refusing to see for months. "They put me in the garage, Clarice," I said quietly. "They moved my things, without asking, without warning, and they put me in the garage." Her hand flew to her chest. "No. Yes." She shook her head slowly, her mouth tightening the way it does when she hears something too wrong to make sense of. "That girl," she muttered. "I knew she had an attitude, but this is beyond anything I imagined." I sat down, and she sat across from me, leaning forward slightly like she was afraid I might unravel if she leaned back. "And your son?" she asked softly. I swallowed the lump forming in my throat. "He left with her. Said it was for the baby." Clarice let out a long breath. "You know manipulation when you see it, and that girl is dripping in it." I nodded because she was right. Raven had been inching toward this moment since the day she moved in, complaining about the temperature of the house, the food I cooked, the way the light came through my bedroom window, the size of the closet, the softness of the bedding. She judged everything like she was walking through a hotel she did not want to pay for. But the worst part was that she dripped sweetness when Kyron was looking and poison when he turned away. Clarice reached across the table and touched my hand. Do not let this tear you apart from yourself. I let out a small laugh, not because anything was funny, but because the alternative was crying. I already feel torn. You will mend, she said firmly, and your boy, he will see the truth eventually. I appreciated her hope, but I did not share it. Not then. Not after watching him walk out of my door without looking back. For the next few days, I moved through the house slowly, almost timidly, like the walls were still watching, still remembering who had last touched them. I stripped the cot in the garage and threw the thin blanket away. I put my boxes back inside the house, though I did not move everything into my bedroom right away. Something about stepping back into that room felt too raw. I needed time, but I could not avoid the world entirely. The grocery store still existed. My church group still texted me. Life still demanded that I participate. One evening, while I was sitting on the couch reading through some old church notes, my phone buzzed. When I saw Kyron's name, my heart jumped like it always had. A mother's heart never fully learns to pace itself. I answered immediately. Mom, he said, and his voice sounded tired. Not physically tired, emotionally tired. Worn down. How are you settling into the apartment? I asked cautiously. A moment of silence stretched out. It's small. I know, I said gently. Raven likes it, though, he added in a forced way, like he was repeating something she had told him to say. Do you like it? I asked. He hesitated. It is fine. Fine. The universal word for everything that is not fine. How is she feeling? I asked because I still wanted to know. The baby, whether mine or not, was still a life I had prepared my heart to love. Another pause. She is demanding, he admitted quietly. She keeps saying I do not support her enough. She wants me to quit my job and be with her all day. I blinked. Quit your job? How would you all live? She said her parents should help. My eyebrows rose. I thought she said her parents were done with her. Kyron let out a heavy, uneven breath. That is the thing, Mom. They are not done with her. They have been calling. They told her they are willing to help. They just want to talk. I sat up straighter. Her parents have been offering support? Yes, he said, sounding ashamed. She never told me. She did not want to go back to them because she said they were controlling and they did not respect her choices. Did you ask her why she never mentioned it? He swallowed. She said, I do not understand her, that I am taking their side, that I am making her feel abandoned. There it was again, the manipulation, the twisting, the shifting of blame like a shell game where every cup hides guilt and every reveal moves it back to him. Kyron, I said softly, you know what love feels like. You know what respect looks like. Does this feel like either of those things? His voice cracked the smallest bit. I do not know anymore. And that admission broke me a little. Because once someone manipulates your reality long enough, you really do begin to lose sight of what is true. Come home for dinner tomorrow, I said. Just you. No pressure, no fighting, just food and your mother. He hesitated. Raven will not like that. I let the silence sit for a beat. I did not ask about Raven, I finally said. I asked about you. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. Okay, I will come. The next day, I cooked his favorite meal, roast chicken with seasoned potatoes and cornbread. The smell filled the house like it used to when he was little. For just a moment, I let myself imagine him walking through the door with that old smile he had when he was 8 years old, holding his backpack with one strap because he never wore it properly. He arrived 10 minutes late, but when he stepped through the doorway, I saw the exhaustion in his face instantly. His shoulders sagged. His eyes were unfocused. His whole spirit seemed dimmed. When he sat down at the table, he closed his eyes and inhaled. It smells like home. That is because it is home, I said. He nodded but did not speak. We ate quietly at first, the kind of quiet that settles between people who are still figuring out where they stand. But halfway through the meal, he finally started talking. Not about Raven, not about the apartment, not about the baby, but about himself. Mom, I feel like I am drowning, he said. Everything I do is wrong. Everything I say gets twisted. I keep trying to keep the peace, but the peace keeps moving further away. My heart clenched. Has she always been like this? He shook his head. She was sweet at first, kind, but now everything is about what she wants. Every decision, every argument, every tear she cries is a weapon. He rubbed his face with both hands. I do not know who I am around her anymore. I reached across the table and placed my hand on his. Then, you need to find yourself again. He looked up, and I could see the boy in him again. The boy who used to cling to my arm in crowded places, who used to whisper that he felt safe when I held his hand. I miss you, Mom, he whispered. I felt that deep in my chest. I miss you too. But before I could say more, his phone buzzed loudly on the table. He glanced at the screen, and all the color drained from his face. It is her, he said. He did not answer. He just stared at it like it was a ticking bomb. One message came, then another, then another. His hands shook slightly as he finally flipped the phone face down. I cannot do this anymore, he whispered. He stood suddenly, almost knocking his chair back. Mom, I have to go. I have to deal with something. Kieran, but he was already walking to the door. Son, I said firmly, whatever happens, remember what you told me tonight. He paused, his hand on the doorknob, his back rising and falling with slow, heavy breaths. I will, he said without turning around. And then he left. I did not know what he was walking into. I did not know what he was about to discover. I only knew that something had shifted inside him, and that shift was going to drag the truth into the light, whether he was ready or not. The next 24 hours would change everything. When Kyron rushed out of my house that night, I stood in the doorway long after his car disappeared down the street. The air was cold enough to sting my cheeks, but I barely felt it. I kept replaying the look on his face, the kind of look a person gets when their whole life is finally too heavy to carry. I knew something had cracked in him. I just did not know what direction that crack would spread or what truth it might expose. I closed the door slowly, almost afraid of the silence that followed, because silence means waiting, and waiting means imagining every possibility, good and bad, until your mind becomes its own storm. I tried cleaning the kitchen just to distract myself, but the chair he had sat in still held a faint warmth, and it pulled my attention like a magnet. I kept seeing him sitting there at the table, head down, voice breaking. My son, the same boy I raised with grit and grace, now unraveling under the weight of a woman who mastered manipulation like it was her native language. I rinsed the dishes twice before I realized I was washing them without soap. My mind was not in that kitchen. It was with him. When I finally went to bed, I could not sleep. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, thinking about the last few months, trying to pinpoint the moment Raven tightened her hold around him. I remembered the subtle ways she changed him. He used to laugh easily, even at things that were not funny. He used to call me just to talk, even if he had nothing important to say. Then suddenly he was quiet, withdrawn, choosing his words like each one came with consequences. And little by little, he stopped seeing me as his mother and started seeing me as an obstacle. But something inside him still remembered the truth. I saw it at dinner. I saw it in the way he rested his hand on the table, as if grounding himself, as if trying to feel something that belonged to him and not to her. Sometime after midnight, I finally drifted into a shallow, restless sleep. When I woke up, the sky was a dull gray, the kind of morning that felt like the world had something heavy on its mind. I checked my phone immediately, hoping to see a message from him, some sign that he had made it home safely. There was nothing. No missed calls, no texts, just silence. I squeezed the phone in my hand and whispered a small prayer under my breath, asking God to guide him, to help him see clearly, to protect him from whatever storm he had stepped into. Around noon, I finally forced myself to eat something, though I barely tasted it. I kept glancing at the clock as if staring hard enough would make time move faster. I tried folding laundry, organizing the pantry, dusting the living room shelves, anything that would keep my hands busy. But my mind kept wandering back to him. A little after 2, my phone rang. His name lit up the screen. I answered so quickly I nearly dropped the phone. Kieran? His voice was strained, breathless, almost scared. Mom, I need to talk to you. My stomach tightened. Are you all right? No, he said quietly. No, I am not. Where are you? I am in my car, parked near the apartment. Do you want to come here? He hesitated. I do not want her to follow me, or ask questions, or twist things. I just need to tell you something first. Tell me, I said gently, sitting down on the couch. He took a shaky breath. I could hear his heartbeat in the way he inhaled. Mom? She had someone in the apartment. The words hit me like a slap. What do you mean, someone? A man, he whispered. She had a man in the apartment, with her, with the baby. My hand covered my mouth on instinct, as if holding in the shock would soften it somehow. Are you sure? I saw him, he said. He was sitting on the couch holding the baby I've been breaking my back to provide for, the baby I thought was mine. I closed my eyes. Oh, Kyron. She did not even look surprised when I walked in. Not guilty, not ashamed, just annoyed that I ruined her moment. My heart twisted. What did she say? She said I was imagining things, that he was just a friend, that I was insecure. Then she said I was making her feel unsafe and threatening her. All I did was walk through the door. I had seen that tactic before. Twist the narrative. Turn the victim into the aggressor. Strip away their clarity until they start doubting their own eyes. What did the man say? I asked. Nothing. He just stood there and stared at me. Like I was the one who didn't belong. Like I was interrupting something. I felt a deep ache swelling in my chest. Did you ask her who he was? Yes, he muttered. And Mom, she laughed. She actually laughed. She said if I wanted to act like a child, maybe I should not pretend to be a father. The cruelty of those words burned through me. You do not deserve that, I said firmly. He let out a long breath. After everything, after all the sacrifices, she treated me like a joke. A brief silence followed. Then he said the sentence I knew was coming, the one that felt like a blade sliding straight through the last remaining thread that held his world together. Mom, I asked for a DNA test. I closed my eyes slowly. Good. Good? I replied gently. You deserve the truth. I did not even finish the sentence, he continued, before she exploded. She said I was accusing her, that I was shaming her, that I was trying to ruin her life. She said her family would take her side. She said she would take me to court for child support. My shoulders tensed. Did you get the test? Yes, he said, his voice suddenly flat, empty, hollow. I got the test. And? There was a long pause, the kind that stretches time itself. Then he said, It is not my baby, Mom. The breath left my lungs. Even though a part of me had suspected it, hearing it out loud felt devastating for him, for the child, for the truth that had been hidden under months of lies. I am so sorry, I whispered, tears filling my eyes. I thought becoming a father would make me better, he said. Stronger, more responsible. I wanted to be what mine never was. And you would have been, I said firmly. You have a good heart, Kieran, but you were giving it to someone who never deserved it. He let out another shaky exhale. I do not know what to do next. Come home, I said softly. I am ashamed, he whispered. I let her walk all over me. I let her disrespect you. I let her take advantage of everything. You were manipulated, I said, and manipulation does not make you weak. It makes you human, he sniffed. I do not want to be that man again. You will not, I said. Not after the truth. He did not answer right away. Then he said quietly, Can I come inside? I am outside the house. My chest tightened. Of course. Come in, baby. A moment later, I heard his car door shut. The gravel under his feet crunched softly as he approached. When I opened the door, I nearly gasped. His eyes were red, tired, and full of a pain that went far deeper than heartbreak. He stepped inside without speaking and collapsed onto the couch like his body finally gave up fighting the weight he had carried. I sat beside him. He leaned into me the way he used to when he was a little boy, when scraped knees and bad days at school still had simple solutions. I wrapped my arm around his shoulders, and he let his head rest on my chest. I am so stupid, he muttered. No, I said, stroking his back slowly. You were in love, and you trusted someone who did not deserve it. He shook his head. I left you. I let her push you into a garage. I treated you like you were the problem. That was not you, I said gently. That was the fear she put in you. I should have protected you, he whispered. You are protecting me now, I said. We sat like that for a long time, not talking, just breathing. Sometimes silence is not empty. It is healing. It is the pause between wounds and recovery. Eventually, he lifted his head. Mom, I am done with her. Done with the lies. Done with the manipulation. Done with pretending. I nodded. Good. But I need your help, he said softly. Not money, not a place to stay. I need guidance. I need to learn how to rebuild myself. I touched his cheek gently. We will do that, one step at a time. His voice cracked again. Thank you for not turning your back on me. You are my son, I said. That love does not disappear just because someone else tried to twist it. He leaned back, wiping his eyes. Where do I start? You start, I said softly, by letting go of everything she told you about yourself. He nodded slowly, absorbing the words like they were medicine. I made him some tea, the same kind I used to make when he had nightmares as a child. When I handed him the cup, he held it with both hands, warming his fingers as if grounding himself back into this world. He looked up suddenly. Mom, do you think I can really change? I sat down next to him again. Baby, you already are. The moment you sought the truth, the moment you left that apartment, the moment you stepped back into this house, not as a child, but as a man who finally sees clearly. He looked down at his tea. I want to be better than who I was. You will be, I said. A quiet settled between us again, but this time it felt different. It felt like a beginning instead of an ending. After a while, he spoke again. I am not going back there. Not to that apartment, not to her, not to any of it. I nodded. Then that chapter is closed. He took a deep breath, the kind that releases old pain. Mom? Yes, baby? Thank you for everything. I smiled. I am proud of you. And for the first time in months, he did not look away. He let the words sink in like they were something he needed more than air. That night marked the beginning of his healing, and mine too. Because the truth had not destroyed him, not really. It had freed him. And it was only the beginning of what was still to come. When I woke the morning after Kyron returned to me with the truth broken open in his hands, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Clarity. Not peace yet, not forgiveness, not even full relief. Just clarity, the kind that comes after months of emotional fog finally lift enough for the world to show its outlines again. I sat at the kitchen table with my cup of coffee and listened to the house breathe. It sounded lighter. Emptier, yes, but lighter too. I could tell the energy had shifted the moment he walked through the door and collapsed into my arms. It was like the house recognized him again, not the version of him that Raven had molded, but the son I raised, the boy with a gentle heart who had lost himself but was now crawling his way back home. He slept late, which did not surprise me. Emotional exhaustion can drain a person deeper than any physical labor. When he finally came into the kitchen, his hair messy, his eyes puffy, and his body heavy with the weight of everything he had just survived, I could tell he was still hovering between two worlds, the one Raven had trapped him in and the one he was trying to step back into. Morning, he said quietly, almost unsure if he was allowed to greet me like he used to. Morning, baby, I replied, keeping my voice soft. He sat down slowly, like his bones were older than mine. I didn't rush him. I didn't ask if he slept well. I didn't bring up Raven or the baby or the DNA test. Sometimes healing begins with silence, not talking. He rubbed his face with both hands. Mom, everything feels surreal, like yesterday wasn't real. It was real, I said. But the worst part is over. He looked up at me, searching my face the way people do when they need to borrow strength. I feel stupid for believing her. You were manipulated, I said. Skilled manipulators can make saints feel guilty. He let out a breath that sounded like it had been trapped inside him for months. Why didn't I see it sooner? Because you loved her, I answered simply. And when you love someone, you assume they mean you well. He nodded slowly, absorbing my words like water after a long drought. We ate breakfast quietly. He pushed his food around his plate more than he ate it, but I didn't press him. Sometimes just sitting at a table with comfort is enough. After a while, he spoke again. Mom, I want to rebuild myself. I want to learn how to stand on my own 2 feet again, but I don't know where to start. You start, I said, by understanding your own worth. He looked down at his hands as if discovering them again. I feel drained, like she wrung every bit of confidence out of me. That's what people like her do, I replied. They build their own power by weakening others. He swallowed hard. She made me feel like I owed her my life, like I had to earn her affection. I gave a sad smile. And the cruelest part is that you thought you weren't doing enough. His eyes shimmered, but he blinked the tears back. We spent that morning talking, not about the past, but about the future. He told me he wanted to get his job back on track, maybe pick up extra hours, start saving money, rebuild stability. I listened, nodding, but inside I knew the real rebuilding would not start at his workplace or in his bank account. It would start inside him, where trust had been broken, where self-worth had been damaged, where the identity he had lost needed to be pieced back together. Around midday, he stood from the table with a determined expression. "Mom, I want to go back to the apartment. I need to pack my things." I stiffened. "Is that safe? She might still be there." "I don't care if she is," he said, though his tone told me he cared deeply. "I have to face her at some point." I shook my head. "Facing her is not necessary. Collecting your belongings is." He thought for a moment. "Can you come with me?" My heart ached, not because he needed protection, but because he finally realized he didn't have to face that weight alone. "Yes," I said, "I'll come." Before we left, I made one thing clear. We are not going there to argue. We are going to retrieve what belongs to you. Nothing more. He nodded. "I understand." We drove in silence. The closer we got to that small, cramped studio apartment, the tighter his grip became on the steering wheel. His knuckles were white by the time we parked. The building looked even smaller than I remembered, like a box where hope went to die. "I feel sick," he whispered. "That's normal," I said gently. "But you're not facing her. Not today. Today is just about your freedom." He nodded, inhaled shakily, and stepped out of the car. As we walked up the narrow stairwell, my senses sharpened. I felt an instinctive protectiveness rise inside me, not the mother who picks up toys after a toddler, but the mother who stands between her child and a threat. When we reached the door, he paused. "What if she's here? That doesn't change what needs to be done." He swallowed. Then he unlocked the door. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. I could tell immediately that nobody had been in it since the night before. The air was stale, lifeless, as if the chaos she carried everywhere she went had finally drifted out the window. Still, the place looked like a storm had passed through. Clothes scattered, bottles knocked over, a blanket thrown across the floor, and on the table lay a note. Not folded neatly, just tossed aside like an afterthought. Kyron picked it up with 2 fingers, as if touching it might burn him. He read silently, then handed it to me. It said only 4 words. "You'll regret this eventually." No apology, no explanation, no remorse, just a threat dipped in arrogance. "She didn't even write a sentence," he said bitterly, "just a statement to haunt me." "That's because manipulation doesn't stop when they leave," I said. "It tries to linger." He took a deep breath. "Well, I'm done being haunted." He moved quickly around the apartment, collecting his clothes, his toiletries, the few books he brought, the small picture frame that once sat on his nightstand, a photo of me holding him on his first day of kindergarten. I noticed he paused at that frame. His fingers brushed the glass slowly, as if remembering the boy he used to be. Then suddenly he froze. "Mom," he said, his voice tight, "come here." I walked to where he stood in the corner near the closet. He was holding a stack of envelopes. Some opened, some sealed, all addressed to him. "What is this?" I asked. He tore one open, brows furrowed. Then his face fell. "They're bills," he whispered. "Bills she hid from me." I opened another envelope, late fees. Another one, an electricity notice, another overdue rent. My jaw clenched. Why would she hide these? He shook his head, bewildered. To control me, to make me think the finances were fine, to make me rely on her for everything else. Manipulators thrive in chaos. They thrive when their partner believes they're failing. They thrive when control goes unchallenged. "This isn't all of them," he said, digging through the closet. "There's more." And he was right. More envelopes were shoved behind a box, crumpled, torn, shredded, hidden like evidence. He pressed a hand to his forehead. "Mom, I could have lost this place months ago. I didn't even know we were behind." I placed a hand on his shoulder. "Because she didn't want you to know." He sank onto the edge of the bed, shoulders slumped. I was drowning, and I didn't even know it. That was the moment I saw something shift in him. Not just pain, not just regret, but awakening. The same awakening I had once felt when my heart recognized it was being mishandled. It was the moment a person stops excusing someone else's cruelty and starts questioning how they survived it for so long. "Kieran," I said softly, crouching in front of him, "you're not alone anymore." He nodded slowly, gripping the envelopes with shaking hands. "Mom, thank you. I don't deserve your support." "Yes, I said firmly. You do. He looked away, tears gathering in his eyes. I knew better than to wipe them. I let them fall. Tears can cleanse in ways words never could. We packed everything quietly after that. When we were done, the apartment looked hollow, like it had finally exhaled after months of suffocating tension. As we walked out, he paused at the door. This place felt like a prison, he said, but leaving it feels like breaking out. We drove home slower than before, not because of traffic, because he was breathing for the first time in months, and I wanted to give him space to absorb the air. When we pulled into the driveway, he turned off the car but didn't get out right away. Mom, he said softly. Yes, baby? Do you think I'll ever be the same? No, I answered gently. You'll be stronger. He nodded, tears returning. I want that. I want to rebuild who I am. And you will, I said, piece by piece. We walked inside, and for the first time since he left my home with Raven months earlier, he stepped over my threshold without hesitation, without guilt, without shame. But I still had to make one thing clear. You can stay here temporarily, I said, but you won't live here. You'll build your own life again. This house is your refuge, not your retreat. He smiled a little. I understand. He did. Truly. For the next few days, he settled into a quiet rhythm, helping around the house, applying for extra shifts, sorting through the emotional debris she left behind. At night, we talked. Not about her, not about anger, but about what he wanted from life now that he knew what he didn't want. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching a show neither of us was truly paying attention to, he said something that made my chest tighten with pride. Mom, he whispered, I'm starting to feel like myself again. And I knew right then, the final reckoning wasn't far away. Because when a person begins to rise, the truth starts rising with them. And Raven had not seen the last of it. Not by a long shot. The reckoning came faster than I expected, but slower than my heart wanted. That is how justice often works. It crawls when you are desperate for it, and it rushes when you are finally strong enough to handle it. In those first couple of weeks after we cleared out that tiny apartment, life in my house found a new rhythm. Kyron woke up early, started going back to work, stayed late to pick up extra hours. He helped me with groceries without being asked, fixed a broken cabinet door that had been hanging crooked for months, and even sat through one of my church live streams like he used to when he was a teenager, and I made him sit beside me on the pew. But the most important thing was not what he did around the house. It was how he carried himself. The way his shoulders slowly began to lift, the way his laughter started to sound less forced, the way his eyes met mine again without shame. He still had rough nights. Some evenings, he sat at the kitchen table after work with his head in his hands, silently replaying the past, trying to make sense of how he had ended up in such a tangled mess. And I let him sit with it. I did not rush him through his grief. Manipulation is not something you walk away from overnight. It leaves residue, self-doubt, guilt, confusion. Sometimes a person needs time just to admit to themselves that what they endured was not love. It was control. One afternoon, I was folding laundry in the living room when his phone, sitting on the coffee table, lit up. Raven. The name flashed across the screen like a warning sign. I saw the preview of her message. We need to talk. You can't run from your responsibilities forever. I did not touch his phone. It was not my place. But when he walked in a moment later, I nodded toward it. She texted again, I said. He picked it up, saw her name, and let out a humorless little laugh. Of course she did. What does she want now? I asked. Control, he answered simply. He opened the message and scrolled. His face hardened as he read. What is she saying? I asked gently. He sighed. She says I abandoned her and the baby. She says I owe her for the months I played father. She says if I don't do the right thing, she will take me to court and destroy me. He said the last words quietly, like they were a ghost from an old nightmare. She knows the DNA results, I reminded him. She knows that baby is not yours. She does not care, he said. If she can't control me emotionally, she'll try legally. If she can't make me feel guilty, she'll try to make me feel scared. Manipulators do not retire quietly. They escalate when their old tricks stop working. What are you going to do? I asked. He stared at the messages. I want to block her. Blocking might give you peace, I said, but if she's threatening court, you may need her words as proof. He frowned. So I should let her keep texting? You should let her reveal who she is, I said. In her own words. He thought about that for a moment. If she files something, I'll deal with it. You will not deal with it alone, I replied. He nodded, and that was that. For a while, the messages kept coming. Long paragraphs about how he ruined her life, how he humiliated her, how she sacrificed everything for him, how he owed her, emotionally and financially. She twisted the story so violently, you would think she had never lied to him, never cheated on him, never brought another man into that apartment, never let him raise a baby that was never his. The only reason those messages did not break him this time was because he had something he did not have before: clarity. He would read them, take a breath, then put his phone down and say, "This is not the truth. This is not who I am." And I saw how powerful that small sentence was. He was rewriting his own story inside his mind, one line at a time. A week later, the letter came. It arrived in a plain envelope, but I knew from the thick paper and official stamp that it was not a casual piece of mail. I handed it to Kyron when he walked in from work. "It is addressed to you," I said softly. He opened it at the table, his eyes scanning rapidly. Then his jaw clenched. "She did it," he muttered. "She actually did it." "Court?" I asked. He nodded. "She filed for child support, says I am refusing to support my son, claims I am hiding money, claims I abandoned her during pregnancy." He let the paper fall to the table and looked at me with a hollow sort of disbelief. "She is still pretending that baby is mine." "She thinks fear will make you fold," I said. "What if the judge believes her?" he whispered. "What if they do not care about the DNA test? What if it somehow goes against me?" "Truth has weight," I replied. "You may not see it immediately, but it adds up. You have proof. You have the DNA results. You have her messages. You have everything you need." He stared at the letter, breathing heavily. "I cannot go through a court battle with her." "Yes," I said calmly, "you can." He rubbed his temples. "I do not have a lawyer. I do not even know where to start." "You start," I said, "by not panicking." That evening, I called Clarice. If there is one thing older women have, it is a network. She had a cousin whose daughter worked in a law office, and by the next day, we had an appointment with a family lawyer who offered a reduced rate after hearing the situation. Sitting in that lawyer's office, watching my son lay out his story while I sat beside him, I felt two things at once: fury and pride. Fury that someone had dragged him this far into chaos. Pride that he was now calmly, clearly telling the truth without flinching, without protecting her image, without carrying guilt that did not belong to him. The lawyer listened, her face impassive, but her questions were sharp. "You have the DNA results?" she asked. "Yes," Kyron said, sliding the folded report across the desk. She read it carefully. "This is clear. You are not the biological father." "Yes," he replied quietly. She tapped the paper lightly. "Then her entire case is built on a lie. That will not hold." "What about the months I helped her?" he asked. "Could she use that against me?" "She can try," the lawyer said. "But the law cares more about paternity than performance. You acted in good faith. She acted in bad faith. That matters." He swallowed. "What should I do?" "Do not respond to her messages," the lawyer said. "Do not argue. Do not negotiate. Let the court process handle it. Bring every document. Bring the DNA test. Bring her texts. Bring that note she left in the apartment if you still have it." "We do," I said. "I kept it." The lawyer nodded. "Good. Judges do not like people who weaponize the system. She is counting on drama. You will disappoint her by offering only facts." I watched my son absorb that. Facts. Not apologies, not justifications, just facts. As we left, he turned to me in the parking lot. "Mom, are you sure you want to come to the hearing? It might get ugly." "I would not miss it," I said. "I have been there for every low point. I am going to be there for the rise too." He smiled weakly, but it was real. The day of the hearing, I dressed carefully. Nothing flashy, just a clean blouse and my good slacks, the ones I wore to important events. Because this, in its own strange way, was an important event. It was not just about money. It was about truth. It was about dignity. It was about setting a record, once and for all, that my son had been manipulated, not negligent. We arrived early and sat in the hallway outside the courtroom. The fluorescent lights made everyone look a little washed out, a little tired. People shuffled past, whispering to one another, some angry, some bored. Then I saw her. Raven walked down the hallway in a fitted dress, her hair perfectly styled, her face done just enough to look innocent and weary. She carried a binder, and behind her walked a woman and a man I recognized right away, from photos I had seen online when I still tried to learn more about her background. Her parents. They were dressed well, but their expressions were tight, controlled. Raven glanced at us and quickly looked away, her mouth tightening into a pout. So the wealthy parents had finally stepped into the picture. I watched them take seats at the far end of the hallway. Her mother whispered something to her, and Raven rolled her eyes slightly before smoothing her expression back into something more pitiful as she glanced my way again. "They are here," Kyron murmured. "Yes," I said quietly. "They're about to see the daughter they raised without the filters she puts on their relationship." He swallowed. "I feel sick." "You feel human," I replied. "It is all right." When our case was finally called, we all filed into the courtroom. The judge was a woman with tired eyes, but a sharp gaze. She looked like someone who had heard every story twice and was no longer impressed by theatrics. Raven went first. Her lawyer spoke about abandonment, emotional harm, financial responsibility, the importance of stepping up as a father. Raven dabbed at the corner of her eye with a tissue at just the right moments. If I did not know better, I might have believed her performance. Then the judge turned to our side. "Mr. Harris," she said, "you dispute paternity?" "Yes, Your Honor," Kyron said, voice steady but soft, "because I am not the father." "Do you have proof of that?" the judge asked. "Yes," our lawyer replied. She stepped forward and placed the DNA test on the table. The judge read it carefully. The room went quiet. Even the air stilled. Then she looked up. "This test indicates a 0% probability of paternity," she said flatly. Raven shifted in her seat, her jaw clenching. "Miss Adams," the judge said, turning her gaze to Raven, "were you aware of this test?" Raven's eyes glistened with fresh tears. "He pressured me into it," she said. "I was vulnerable. I did not agree with it. That test is just one piece of paper. It does not change the fact that he stepped into this role." That was the moment I felt a strange calm descend over me, because this woman still believed she could twist reality even with scientific proof on the table. Our lawyer stayed steady. "Your Honor, my client requested the test after discovering Miss Adams had been involved with another man during the relationship. That man was present in the home, interacting with the child, without my client's knowledge of the affair. We also have text messages in which Miss Adams implies that Mr. Harris owes her no matter what, because she can make things look any way she wants." The lawyer read a few key lines from the messages out loud. You could feel the judge's patience thinning with each one. Raven shifted, her mask slipping. Her parents' faces turned from rigid support to visible discomfort. Her mother's hands tightened around her purse. Her father stared at her, his jaw set, as if he was seeing his daughter for the first time without the version she had sold them. The judge leaned back slightly. "Miss Adams, the court is not here to mediate your emotional grievances. We are here to determine legal responsibility. Based on this DNA evidence, Mr. Harris is not the biological father of your child. Therefore, he cannot be held responsible for child support under this petition." Raven's eyes widened. "So he just gets away with it?" she snapped before catching herself. "Gets away with what?" the judge asked sharply. "Believing he was a father when he was not? Being misled? Supporting you throughout your pregnancy under false assumptions?" Raven sputtered, but no words came out. The judge continued, "The court will not be used as a tool for manipulation. Your petition for child support from Mr. Harris is denied. Furthermore, given the clear evidence of misrepresentation, this court strongly advises you to correct any false statements you have made about Mr. Harris to third parties, including your family, employers, or social contacts. Using his name to garner sympathy or support will not serve you well in future legal proceedings." You could have heard a pin drop. I felt something inside me release slowly and completely. It was not joy. It was not gloating. It was relief. Pure, deep, cleansing relief. A quiet satisfaction, like watching a storm finally break apart over the ocean instead of over your roof. As we left the courtroom, Raven brushed past us, tears streaming now, but not the helpless tears of a victim. No, these were tears of someone furious that their usual tactics had failed. Her parents followed, but her father paused and turned toward us. "Mr. Harris?" he said, his voice low but firm. "Yes." Kyron said cautiously. "I would like to speak with you, and with your mother, if that is all right." We stepped to the side, out of the main flow of people. Raven's mother looked at me with tired eyes. "We did not know," she said softly. "She told us you refused to help. She told us your mother was cruel, that she kicked her out, that she chose her grandchild's comfort over her own son's stability." I almost laughed, but there was nothing funny in it. "That girl rewrites every story she touches," I said calmly, "including mine." Her father nodded slowly. "We see that now." They apologized, not for their daughter exactly, but for the situation, for believing a one-sided version, for misjudging my son from a distance. I accepted their words, not because I needed validation from them, but because it closed a door that had been rattling in the wind for too long. On the drive home, Kyron was quiet. Then he said, "Mom, when the judge read that out loud, I felt something heavy fall off me." "You were freed," I said. He nodded slowly. "I kept thinking about all the times I believed I owed her my life, all the nights I stayed awake thinking I was failing her, and today the truth just stood up and spoke for me." "That is what truth does," I said. "It may take its time, but it does not lose its voice." The weeks that followed were not perfect, but they were real. He worked. He saved money. He started seeing a counselor from our church, a woman who specialized in helping people recover from emotionally abusive relationships. He began to rebuild not just his schedule, but his self-worth. We talked a lot about boundaries, about not mistaking chaos for passion, about not confusing sacrifice with self-erasure, about how love without respect is not love at all. And I did my own rebuilding too. I realized that for years, I had centered everything around being the good mother, the one who always said yes, the one who always opened her door, the one who would sacrifice her comfort, her sleep, her peace, and eventually even her bedroom to prove her love. But love should not require self-erasure. So I joined a group for older women at church, women who had their own stories of being pushed aside, used, taken for granted by their children, their in-laws, their so-called friends. We shared our stories in a circle, drinking coffee from paper cups, handing each other tissues. Over time, I found myself speaking up more, not just as someone who had been hurt, but as someone who had found her way out. One day, the group leader pulled me aside and said, "You know, you have a gift for telling your story in a way that helps other women see themselves." I smiled. "Maybe I'm just tired of being quiet." Now, as I sit here telling you this, I'm looking at my house with new eyes. My bedroom is mine again, not because I fought tooth and nail for it, but because I finally decided I would never let anyone move me out of my place in my own life again. My son comes by often. He calls just to check on me. We cook together. We laugh. We even joke sometimes about the tiny studio apartment and how that season feels like another lifetime. He is not the broken man who came home that night, crushed by a DNA test and a betrayal. He is stronger, wiser, softer in the right ways, harder in the right ways. And most importantly, he no longer confuses someone else's chaos with his responsibility. If you are listening to this and something in my story feels like a mirror, I want you to hear this clearly. Being a mother, a grandmother, a partner, a friend does not mean letting people walk over you. It does not mean sleeping in the garage while someone else stretches out in your bed. It does not mean shrinking yourself to ease someone else's discomfort. Love with strength, care with boundaries, forgive without returning to the same cage. What would you have done in my place? Tell me where you are listening from. Tell me where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. If my story moved you, or if it helped you feel less alone, you can also use super thanks to support more stories like this being shared. With heartfelt greetings, until next time.